Hey, what's up, beautiful people? Today we have a slightly different episode of the Meditation Podcast, and instead of walking you through a mental model or a different framework, I'm going to talk about my ayahuasca experience, because this experience was one of the catalysts that really took my expansion of consciousness and my spiritual growth to another level. And so today I want to talk about why I did ayahuasca, how I prepared for it, what I got out of it, and maybe answer a few questions that you may have if you're interested in doing these plant medicine ceremonies. So for me, I learned about ayahuasca about 17 years ago and was really intrigued. It was something that I wanted to do. I was just about to have my first kid, and I was really thinking about my career and the way that I was living my life, and if it was still in alignment with what I truly wanted. And just like many other people, regular life started getting in the way. My job, I started a new company, we were thinking about having kids. It was just really difficult to find the time to get away to do a plant medicine ceremony in the way that I wanted to do them. So for me, I have already done quite a few different psychedelics in my life. Some of them were intentional, sometimes it was unintentional, especially when I was younger, but every time I did one of these plant medicines, what I did notice was that I would have some sort of transcendent experience. Now, in the past, before I had my spiritual awakening, I would just think of these transcendent experiences as a byproduct of the exogenous molecules. So whether it was lysergic acid, LSD, or psilocybin, magic mushrooms, or DMT, dimethyltryptamine, when I would interact with spirits or things that were outside of myself, my natural reaction was, oh, well, I just took something called the spirit molecule. Of course, I'm interacting with these spirits. And so I never really thought that I was actually interacting with something outside of myself. I tended to think that I had just taken an exogenous molecule that was interacting with my biochemistry, and that is what was giving me this transcendent experience where I was interacting with spirit guides, guardian angels, speaking to Jesus, Allah, Buddha, God. You know, like I've had all of those experiences while taking psychedelics, but as I said, I never really thought that's what was actually happening. I always just thought this was a byproduct of different atoms and molecules interacting in my biochemistry, and that is what was giving me this type of hallucination that felt very real, that felt very empowering, but at the same time, you know, my logical, rational mind just thought, okay, hey, you know, I just took some things called the spirit molecule, and this is why I'm having this transcendent experience. So fast forward to 2020. In 2020, I had my spiritual awakening. This began with a heavy dose of psilocybin, and then I started meditating. I started meditating 90 minutes every day. This was in July 30th of 2021. And from July 2021 to August of 2024, I had been meditating every single day, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes a day, depending on how much time I had. But this idea of doing ayahuasca, it never left my mind. There was just something about ayahuasca, you know, whether I heard about it in podcasts or Michael Pollan was writing about it in his book, How to Change Your Mind, to my relatives, like my mother-in-law watching the Netflix series and asking me, like, you know, what is ayahuasca? Is this something really powerful? Is this something that I can benefit from? And not ever having done ayahuasca, but having done LSD, psilocybin, DMT, you know, I have tried a lot of different psychedelics that were very beneficial, but most of the people in my inner circle were asking me about ayahuasca, and I just didn't have my own personal experience with it. I've known just dozens of people that have done ayahuasca that have had really great benefits from interacting with this plant, and of course with things like Burning Man and the explosion of psychedelics. Now I feel like I could talk about these things and it's not that fringe, but I myself, you know, I only like to talk about things that I have direct experience of. So before I did my ayahuasca ceremony, I wanted to be really, really prepared, and I wanted to make sure that I went to the right shaman. So I spoke to one of my friends. One of my friends has drank ayahuasca, I believe now it's over 300 times, has gone to the Amazon jungle and has been with different tribes to learn their traditions. And he recommended that I go to this very specific location. I'm not going to mention it, but this location was really beautiful. It was sitting on acres of land. They call them pages from the Amazon jungle, fly up to hold ceremony, and I would have a really, really authentic experience while still being here in the United States. And that's what I really preferred. I did want to go sit in the jungle, but just my schedule and all my different responsibilities, it just wasn't realistic to take 10 days off or 2 weeks off to go to Peru or to Brazil to drink this medicine with the indigenous people. So I wanted the next best thing, which was to be a part of a ceremony with an authentic page from the Amazon jungle that really knew the traditions, and also be surrounded by people that were experienced with this medicine. And the reason why this was very important to me was I have sat in some circles where the people weren't quite that experienced, and when you have to worry about babysitting other people or just not being able to fully surrender to the medicine, that was something that was really important to me. So I wanted to make sure that the people that I was drinking this medicine with were people that were experienced and knew how to hold space. So why did I even want to drink ayahuasca in the first place? My life was in a really good place. We had just moved from San Francisco to the rural area where I live right now, and I was meditating every day, and I was connecting with different types of conscious beings, higher frequential beings that were giving me all sorts of different experiences that were really engaging, really expansive, really just making me feel alive. But there was this little itch that I had inside that was telling me that it might be time to interact with ayahuasca. So there were a couple of things that would always come up in my meditations. Number one was some unresolved issues with my father, who passed away during COVID. Number two was whether or not I was feeling as supported as I wanted to be. I think as a man and as a father and as an entrepreneur, I'm just used to taking care of other people and not really having my own needs met, or even being able to tell other people what I needed and what I needed help with. These were some things that I noticed in myself. And the last thing was, even though I was pretty much in a really good mood most of the times, I'd say 95% of the time if people asked me how I was doing, and if I answered great, that would be truthful. But every once in a while, I would think about the fact that I got removed from the company that I founded. And the person that set my removal in place was a friend of mine, and he would come to mind every so often, and I would just get really angry. I would feel betrayed. I would feel just a lot of negative feelings going through my body. And instead of dealing with it and processing it, I would just try to meditate, try to do everything to not think about this issue. So I knew this was something that I wanted to explore with this plant. So like most things, or like many things that are very important, I really recommend that maybe watching this video is the first part of educating yourself on plant medicines, but I would highly, highly recommend finding a psychedelic coach, someone that could help prepare you, someone that can make sure that you have all the tools needed so that when you are in these altered state of minds, when you are being confronted with things that you have suppressed, things that you've been avoiding your whole life, that you have the proper tools to deal with them. Because I could tell you that as a man that has been working on emotional intelligence, working on processing and allowing myself to feel things, there were a lot of things that I felt that were so strong, so powerful, so mind-bending, that if I didn't have the proper tools to deal with them, it could be perceived or construed as having a bad trip, okay? A bad trip. And that's something that I've come to realize, that there's no such thing as bad trips. There's just bad responses to stimuli that is happening during these psychedelic journeys and ceremonies that people go on. So I wanted to make sure that I was properly prepared, just like you wouldn't go into a UFC fight without ever training. I don't think that people should just do psychedelics without the proper preparation. Now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I've done tons of psychedelics in my teenage years and in my 20s without any preparation, and I was still able to extrapolate some positive benefits from it. But at the same time, I also knew that my mind just wasn't prepared. There was a lot of these higher order conversations, higher order experiences that I had that my young mind was just not ready to have when I was in my late teens and early 20s. But once I got into my 40s, I had more life experience. I understood my emotions better, and going through this ayahuasca preparation class with my coach. And if you guys are interested, I'm not going to put his name here, but if you guys are interested, I'm more than happy to put you in touch, because the preparation itself was very beneficial. Okay, we met for one time a week for 6 or 7 weeks prior to the actual ceremony. And during the preparation, we were preparing our physical bodies, we were preparing our emotionality, and then we were preparing our spirits as well. So I would say it was a very holistic way to approach these plant medicine ceremonies. So physically, what we wanted to do was to just get a lot of rest, to make sure like we were well rested, because our bodies were gonna go through some pretty intense times. We wanted to make sure that the food that we were putting into our bodies were really healthy, high vibrational foods. So less meat, less sugars, no processed foods. I stopped consuming cannabis for a few weeks prior to the ceremony, just to make sure that the cannabinoids weren't mixing with the ayahuasca. So we did the physical preparation. Then we started doing some emotional preparation. So we wrote out, what our intention was for wanting to do these ceremonies. We wrote out what we wanted to get out of it. These things I think are very important, because the medicine is very powerful, but the medicine is also intelligent. So if you set a certain intention before you go into the medicine ceremony, I believe that you have a much higher probability of getting what you want out of the ceremony. Now, can you go into these ceremonies without setting a proper intention, without journaling, without doing all the things that I just told you to do? Yes, I believe that you could absolutely go into these things and still benefit from it. But if you're like me, if you have kids, if you have a lot of responsibilities, if you want to get the most out of your experience, then I would highly, highly recommend getting some prep done by hiring a coach, and to make sure that you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's. And it wasn't just like journaling what we wanted to get out of it and setting an intention. It was also talking about how do we surrender when something really intense comes up? And if something really intense comes up, is that a bad thing, right? Is that a bad thing, or is this something that you've been suppressing, that the medicine is just percolating to the top of your consciousness? And so we talked about different ways to surrender, so that when these really intense feelings started coming up, instead of fighting them, we could surrender to it, so that we could really learn from it. And for me, and I think for a lot of men, the concept of surrendering is really foreign. I do jujitsu, and surrendering, tapping, is I don't want to say the worst thing you can do, because that's actually how you learn. But yeah, the whole point is you don't want to tap, you don't want to surrender. It's about getting your opponent to surrender. But when you're interacting with these plants, it is completely different. Okay, it's completely different, where when you surrender, you're not surrendering like you're giving up. You're surrendering this control that you're trying to have over the experience that the plant is trying to give you. And of course, at least for me, I was like, I hope I don't have a bad trip. I hope these really negative feelings don't surface. And the fact is, that's why you're doing the medicine, is so that it can illuminate these shadows, these dark energies, these triggers and traumas that you've been suppressing for so long. So learning how to deal with these slippery moments while under the medicine was super important. And this is why I think that while I do believe that I am very happy that psychedelics are part of the public discourse today, I do believe the whole preparation is really undermined. And a lot of the people that we see online talking about these plant medicines, they are, I don't know even how to describe it, but for someone like myself that's been around plant medicines for a very long time, I feel like the people that don't properly prepare for these ceremonies are the same people that go to these ceremonies like several times a year. Several times, every time they get stressed out, every time something wrong goes in their life, they go away to another one of these ceremonies. And it's been over a year, and this is not to say my experience is the average experience, but I have had no desire to take psychedelics. There were so many things that were opened up during this experience, so many things that I needed to I needed to address and integrate that. Over a year later, I'm still learning a lot of these lessons and really integrating them. So I've talked about the preparation and I talked about the why that I wanted to do this. So let's talk about the actual ceremony itself. All right, so the ceremony itself, number one, just getting there was a whole ordeal. Okay, so I drove from Sacramento to San Jose, which is a couple of hours, and I really wanted to be well rested. So the night before, I just could not sleep. It was like if your kids are going to Disneyland the very next day and they can't go to sleep and they're super restless. That's how I was like. So I barely slept. I woke up with a headache and I was like so nervous that the headache was gonna get in the way of the actual ceremony. And so when I met my friend in San Jose, we had another 6 hours to drive. So it was like a really long day. And so I wanted to be well rested. And that's all I was concerned about that day was, did I eat enough food? And I knew that I was gonna have to stay up from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was a 3-day ceremony, but I only went for 2 of the days. And just out of synchronicity, the 2 people that I went down with, they also could only stay for 2 days. So that worked out. And the 2 people I went with were quite experienced. They were like super excited, but I was really nervous. Even though I had the right preparation, I've never sat in ceremony 2 nights in a row, and from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., that just seemed really long. You know, like I go to bed at 10 p.m. every night, so the thought about staying up till 6 a.m., even though we were drinking ayahuasca to help us stay awake, it was just something I had some mental blocks over. So when we finally got to the location, I was super in my head. Everyone was meeting each other. Most of the people seemed to have known each other. They've sat in ceremony. I think there was only, out of the 30 people, I think maybe just 6 or 7 new people there. So 23 to 24 of the people there have drank ayahuasca multiple times and had been in ceremony together. So I just did my best to kind of calm myself down because my heart was beating. I knew in a few hours we would be drinking ayahuasca, and I was just hoping like my headache went away because I was just imagining my headache magnifying after we took the medicine. So I just kind of, distracted myself for a few hours. We ate our last meal, I think around 6 p.m., a really light vegetarian meal. And then we sat in a circle, and then they turned off all the lights. It was really, really dark in the room, and the page and his wife walked in, and they spoke in their indigenous language. I can't remember which specific dialect it was, but someone there could translate. And so they said some beautiful opening words, and after the opening words, they had us all line up to get our cup of medicine. Now, out of the 30 people, I was probably number 25. So I'm watching everyone walk up and get their cup of medicine. We just grab the cup of medicine, we don't drink it, but I just remember just being so nervous. And then so when it's my turn, I went and got my medicine, I bowed to the page, I went and sat back where my seat was, and then after everyone got their cups of medicine, we all drank it together. And after we drank it together, we meditated for 30 minutes. And I gotta tell you, as I'm drinking the ayahuasca, it's like this thick brew. I'm totally in my head. I'm super nervous. I'm just trying to calm myself down. I even think about like just drinking like half the cup because I wasn't ready for everything that a full cup would give me. But for one reason or another, I just got my courage up. I drank the whole cup and we start meditating. And during the meditation, about 15 minutes into the meditation, I hear someone dry heaving, right? They're dry heaving, and it's not just like, bleh. It's like they're puking out like all of their internal organs. It's violent sounding, it's scary sounding as someone who has never heard someone purge like that, especially like the medicine hadn't even kicked in for me. So I'm thinking, wow, if this guy is going through all of this right away, like what's gonna happen 45 minutes from now? So the really interesting thing about the medicine is I personally didn't even know when the medicine kicked in. Like I was just waiting, meditating, like checking in on my body to see if like I could feel anything. And before I know it, songs are playing, they're singing these really beautiful indigenous songs. And my body is just kind of like swaying back and forth to the music. It's really, really beautiful. And the really interesting thing is like, then my stomach just started feeling weird, Everyone had like a purge cup in front of them. So I just do a few dry heaves, nothing comes out. And then the interesting thing is I think about myself getting kicked out of my own company. Now, even though I wanted to move away, even though I didn't want to work at my own company anymore, I didn't want to get kicked out. And my friend who I put into the CEO role, he was the one that basically asked me to leave the company. And I asked, are you asking me to leave the company, or are you telling me to leave the company? And essentially he was telling me that if I didn't leave, he was going to if I didn't leave voluntarily, he would speak to the board and have me removed. All right. So that started going through my head. And that is one of the things that really, really bothered me. For over the last few years, I had really been in the zone, just in a high frequency, in a high vibration, manifesting the life that I truly wanted. But then every once in a while, I would think about getting removed from my own company, and then this like rage would just come over me. Like I would think about my friend and bad thoughts would be going through my head. So as I'm thinking about him under the medicine, I just start puking. I start purging, and I'm purging like I heard the guy was purging, like projectile vomiting. And I purge like 4 or 5 times. Someone comes and gets like my purge bowl, takes it away, empties it, gives me a new one. And then he tells me to keep drinking water. So I just keep purging. And every time I purge, my back is feeling a little bit better. Like I could feel like all this tension, all this trapped negative energy just being removed from my lower back every single time I'm purging. And so I keep drinking water, and I hate puking. Like I don't drink alcohol, so puking to me is something that is like just very foreign to me. So the fact that I was encouraged to purge and I kept on drinking water so that I could purge more, like each purge, I can't say it felt good, but it did feel good. That's the best way I can describe it. Like it didn't physically feel good, but I knew it was good for me, so I wanted to keep doing it. And after about 15 purges, my back instantly felt better. And this is what I realized, was that even though I felt betrayed from my friend who wanted me out of the company, the vision that I saw was that he didn't betray me, he actually betrayed himself, because he knew that the company would do better if I was still a part of the company. So he wasn't betraying me, he was betraying himself, because he felt like if I was still around, people wouldn't look at him as a CEO. If I was still around, my influence would still be large within the company, and he wanted to be the CEO of the company. And so the interesting thing was, I didn't even have to forgive him. I just saw that I just happened to be the collateral damage to his own betrayal of himself. And I started understanding that when people betray you, it feels like they're betraying you, but in reality, everyone has their own internal compass of knowing what's right and wrong. And when they betray you, they're actually betraying themselves. So everyone that betrayed me in the past, whether it was ex-girlfriends, whether it was friends, whether it was business colleagues, like my whole past got rewritten where I was no longer the victim of these betrayals. I could see that they were the victim of those betrayals. And it even showed me, like when I was betraying one of my friends, like I felt like, wow, why won't he forgive me? And it was all about like him not forgiving me. And I realized like part of it was I needed to forgive myself. I needed to understand like, yeah, I betrayed this guy because I had certain insecurities and I was beating myself up, and then also just really wanting my friend to forgive me. And the interesting thing is, once I was able to forgive myself, I realized that I never needed my friend to forgive me, but he forgave me anyways. And so that was one of the most beautiful learnings that I got out of the ayahuasca experience, was about betrayal, and how just reviewing and repositioning how this betrayal was really rewrote a ton of history, and literally like the back pain that I had instantly went away. All right, instantly went away. At first I thought it went away just because I drank medicine, and a week later the pain would come back, but it's been over a year now and the pain still hasn't returned. And so that was a really wonderful thing. And so that was the first night. And then on the second night, I really wanted to be able to feel more connected to my guardian angels, to my spirit guides, to really open up my third eye chakra. And so during the second night, there was a very specific ceremony where the Purge would go up to each person and cleanse their energy and then work on them individually, one-on-one. And when he came by me, what was really interesting was he put his finger right on my third eye chakra right here and sang some songs, and I felt like this energy like coming out of like my forehead into his hand. And then I could really start feeling like, wow, like this is what it means to have your third eye chakra open. This is what it means to connect with different types of entities. This is what it means to be open to allow different types of energies to flow through you. So that second night, it was really different than the first night. You know, I did do some purging, but it wasn't quite as intense as the first night. But the purging on the second night, it was more about forgiving myself again, and also knowing, not just hoping or believing that I'm good enough. It was knowing that I'm good enough. All right, so despite a lot of external success that I've had in my life, you know, one of the things was really clear during the ayahuasca ceremony was all of my achievements and accomplishments, they weren't coming out of a place of abundance like, hey, I just want to optimize my life. Hey, I want to make the most out of my potential. It was because as an Asian man who grew up in the 80s in America, feeling like Asian men were really shitted on and were looked at as the lowest on the totem pole, like so much of my drive came from wanting to prove other people wrong. Prove that like, yes, I am a physically attractive person that other races would like to date, or that I could be a vocal leader that could lead a company. There was so much of this scarcity mindset behind all the things that I would achieve. It was never because I wanted to do these things. It was always because I wanted to prove other people wrong. And that made a lot of sense to me because of all the things that I've achieved and accomplished. I could really see that it didn't really give me these feelings of joy, these feelings of purpose and fulfillment, because I never did those things for myself. And so in this chapter of my life, like the people that watch my videos, the people that are in my community, I'm not doing this to monetize and try to become a full-time creator. I'm not doing this to try to make some side hustle money. I'm not doing this because I want to be someone that is looked at as a subject matter expertise in spirituality. I'm doing these videos because that's what I really want to do, regardless if I have 1 follower or 5,000 followers, regardless if I can make money off of this, regardless if my friends tell me this is a dumb idea. Doing these videos is what brings me my highest joy, in being able to share it with everybody, and having this realization while drinking ayahuasca to do the things that I truly want, to not be attached to the end result, and to be happy that I just get to do them, was this really great epiphany. It's one of the epiphanies that I share in a bunch of my other videos when people ask me, well, what's the purpose of life? And I realize the purpose of life is to be able to do things that are in alignment with what your spirit and your soul wants. And so much of society talks us out of it, right? Like if you wanted to start a side hustle, becoming a TikTok creator, or to be on YouTube, right? Like I'm 48 years old. Like most of my friends are like, that's for younger millennials or Gen Zers. It's not really for people in their Gen X years, and they'll talk me out of it because they don't want me to waste my time on things that probably I'll never have 1 million followers, right? But that's something that I realized was that I have my internal guidance system, and how often I let other people talk me out of it. And this doesn't mean that they don't have my best interest in mind. It just means that they don't know me on the level that I know myself, and on the level that I feel everyone should know themselves at. And after coming out of the second ceremony, I walked away with a lot of different learnings. One was to trust myself. One was to believe in myself. One was to know that I could get through these really challenging times and I don't have to get through them alone. One of my favorite memories was I needed to go to the restroom and I could barely walk at that point. I'm like crawling on the ground. And one of my friends is actually my ayahuasca coach. He tells me to stand up straight. And at that point, I could barely even stand. And I actually got kind of annoyed when he told me to stand up straight, but I trusted him, so I started standing up straight. And when I stood up straight, it was weird. It's like all of a sudden I had 100% control of my entire body again. And I made it to the restroom. And one of the things that I learned was being in such a vulnerable state in front of other people and feeling like it was okay. That was one of the most beautiful takeaways that I got from the ayahuasca ceremonies. It wasn't like these insights, which I did get a lot of insights and epiphanies, but it was just being able to puke in front of someone else or to dance really badly because I could barely use like my body, but the music was so awesome that I just got up and started dancing. It was like being able to do those things and not feel like I was getting judged that really, really made me feel just so awesome. To be there with a group of friends, to be able to be super vulnerable, to have all of these beautiful downloads come throughout the 2 days, it was just awesome. All right, it was just awesome. Now, I think what happens for most people is after these ceremonies, they feel great for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a couple months, but then the magic just starts to fade away. All the lessons that you learn from these ceremonies, like real life just starts getting in the way. I start getting triggered by the things that used to trigger me. I start going back into all the bad habits that I used to have. So for me, just kind of being a little bit older and really wanting to integrate these practices, I started just writing in my journal every day, just remembering all the different things that went on. And I've left out like probably 95% of the details because I could see this video is already getting kind of long, and maybe I'll save some of the other insights for a future video. But what I really wanted to communicate was after the ceremony is over, that's when the real work started to begin. All right. And so I think the younger version of me and a lot of other people watching probably think like, yeah, the real work is like when you're drinking the medicine and having these transcendent experiences. And a lot of the work does happen there, like neural paths get rewired, a lot of forgiveness happens. But if you really, really want to take these learnings into your day-to-day life, you have to integrate them into your day-to-day life. And so the best analogy I could use is like going to an ayahuasca ceremony is like going to a fitness boot camp. And then if you want to retain all the gains or even improve on the gains you got at the fitness boot camp, you got to work out every day. So what does working out look like after a ayahuasca ceremony? So number one, I would say journaling. Just journaling and just being aware of the changes. Number two is writing down all the improvements that you made and then just trying to get better at each of them every single day. Like for me, it's just 1% better. So one of them was believing in myself, right? So the fact that I didn't believe in myself 100%, I didn't expect to go from not believing in myself to really believing in myself. Like I knew it had to be a crawl, walk, run. So every time I was asked to do something new, like become the Girl Scouts troop lead or to take a new position, like I would just use those opportunities as a way to practice believing in myself. Instead of saying, no, I'm not ready, I would say, yeah, I'll be the Girl Scouts troop lead, even though I don't know anything about being the Girl Scouts troop lead. Just say yes to these things, believe in yourself. So that was one way that I would practice believing in myself. Another thing that really came up was just allowing myself to feel the things that trigger me. All right, so in the past when things would trigger me, I would just get super angry and maybe feel things too much. Then when I became super spiritual, when things would trigger me, I would think to myself, hey, these things are pretty minor, I shouldn't be triggered by them, and kind of like suppress that triggering. And so in this new framework, it was more about how can I allow myself to feel what I need to feel, fully process it, and then shorten the cycle. So instead of being triggered for a few hours when I get cut off, could I be triggered for 1 minute before I return to baseline. So that's another thing that I began practicing, was allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel, then to process why I felt that way, to see if there's any learning lessons from it, and then to integrate those learning lessons into my day-to-day life. So the journaling, the allowing myself to feel things, the allowing myself to get triggered, these are all little things that I would keep practicing after the ayahuasca ceremony, so that these insights and epiphanies that I got weren't just really awesome insights that I got during the ceremony that fade away over time, but are things that I really begin to integrate into my day-to-day life, so that I don't need to always do these plant medicine ceremonies. And for me, this is where meditation really helps. Okay, when I meditate, it's easy for me to see like, okay, this is my ego mind doing its typical survival and avoidant behavior. And then this is my higher self really challenging me to do things that are really gonna help me expand and become a greater version of myself. All right, so I just wanted to share that ayahuasca experience with you guys. If you guys are looking to research plant medicines and are feeling the calling, I highly recommend doing as much research as possible, getting as prepared as possible, because this is serious stuff. Like, I know online, like I get people in Instagram and just different different avenues where they reach out to me. They're selling like chocolate mushrooms, mushroom gummies, all sorts of things. And while I am happy that this stuff is more accessible, I am worried that like it's so accessible that people don't know how to utilize these types of plant medicines with intention, so that you could get the most out of it, and that the plant is serving you and that you are not serving the plant. Okay, so if this video resonated with you and you want to learn more, I got a free community that you could join. The link is in the description. And if you like this, or if you know anyone that could benefit from hearing the story, please like this video, please share this video with someone, please comment below, and I would be happy to help. And just remember, plant medicines, they're not for everyone. You don't need to have to do it if you want to spiritually expand, but if you're looking for a way to connect with spirit that is highly visceral, that is highly experiential, then I would say plant medicines is one of the most powerful things that you could experience. All right, everyone, you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.